See, today we are going to start Western political thought. Already we have discussed what is the syllabus component of Western political thought, how it is reoriented, or how we have redesigned the syllabus from Western political thought to other concepts. So I have also discussed the previous year questions, and I have said from each thinker what is the main dimension that they are asking. After looking at the main dimension, I have said how the thinkers has evolved over a period of time, or how the topic has evolved over a period of time from Plato to the so-called Hannah Arendt, right? So until first two things we have already discussed, if you do remember. Now, what are the books that you have to refer for this? Books. One for Western political thought. One book that you can refer is already this one, Igno. Igno. Anyways, our class notes is there that I will be giving here. Second one is Igno. Apart from Igno, some standard books. Western Political Thought by Andrew Haywoods. And there is O.P. Gauba, Western Political Thought. Or you can also refer for Western Political Thought, Sushila Ramaswamy. From Subrata Mukherjee. These are the basic books that you can refer. But again, what I say, Igno okay, O.P. Gauba okay, Andrew Haywood compared to Sushila Ramaswamy and Subrata Mukherjee, this fellow is okay, Andrew Haywood is okay, right? You can refer to these books for your references. If I have any other thing, I will be sharing now and then, right? Now, let me start with the class directly. What is Western political thought? Let me go into this context. Western political thought. Western political thought. What is it at all? Right? Western is something which is related to the developed countries. Political is something that I have already said in defining what is political science. So politics is something which is coming from Greek word which is known as polis. Polis in Greek means city, states, right? This already I discussed the city states concept of the state concept at that point of time was something different from what is existing today. Today it is nation states, at that time it is city state. City state is the governing council, or it is the state which is present, the geographical territory which was present during that point of time is known as city state at that point of time. Now, what is state at all? State is something which is abstract in its nature. Abstract in its nature. What I mean by abstract? Something which is not visible. State is something which is not visible. However, though it is not visible, it is manifested. State is manifested or can be visualized. State can be manifested or visualized in the form of government. So you can say that state is a concrete manifestation of government. Concrete manifestation of government. Government is the structure which we will be finding and that concrete manifestation is in the form of state. State is the concrete manifestation of government. Or you can also say government is instrumentality of the state. Instrumentality of state. Instrumentality, which means through government state performs its functions. Or you can say that state is like a soul, government is like a body. State is the soul, government is the body. So in short, what you can say about state, state is something which is abstract in its nature, which is not visible in its nature. You cannot see the state, rather it is found or it is manifested, or state is manifested in the form of government. You can visualize state only in the form of government. What is this government? Government is an instrument of state to perform its functions. Through government, state performs its functions. So state can be sold as called as soul, government be called as body. Right. Kindly check sharing. The screen got shared. Now is it getting shared? Is the
Yes,
screen?
sir, it is sharing.
Hmm?
Visible, sir, visible.
Okay, right. No. So, what I said, what is political thought? Political means city states or police. City state. State is abstract in its nature, not visible, manifested in the form of government. Government is instrumentality of the state. State is the soul, government is like the body. So, and the theory of state has been propounded by various people, right from Plato. They have said what is the function of the state. Plato said what is the function of the state. Aristotle said what is the function of state. Plato said state function is for good governance. Aristotle also said state's function is good governance. So they said function of the state is good governance. That we'll see later when we discuss the so-called concept of uh, Aristotle's concept of state, Plato's concept of state. Or else let me continue from here, right? I'll also continue this in the form of state, but try to remember as I have started this. So, what is state? State is, or government is the instrumentality of the state. Through government, state performs its functions. Now, what is the function of government? The function of government or the function of state is to have good governance. And Plato said this government, good governance can be achieved only through the concept of philosophers. Only when philosopher rules, only when philosopher rules, there will be good governance. Whereas Aristotle said there will be good governance or state performs good governance when people participate in the state. People participate in governance. He said that philosophers has to participate or philosophers has to rule, but Aristotle said it is not philosopher, rather it is people who has to rule, and then only there will be good governance. That is what they have said. So state is, again I am repeating, something which is abstract in nature, which cannot be visible, or state is manifested in the form of government. You can visualize state only through government. What is government? Government is the instrument of state. Through government, state performs its functions. Now, what is the function of state? State performs the function of being delivering governance, and it can have good governance only when philosophers rule, as per Plato. But as per Aristotle, it can perform good governance only when people will participate. So, this is the difference between Plato concept of state and Aristotle's concept of state. Now, what is governance? I am speaking about governance. Now, governance, when people participate in governance or good governance. What is governance? Now, governance is something which is there to establish law and order. Governance is something which establishes law and order. And the concept is evolving over a period of time. This concept is evolving. It is evolving. Earlier, state used to be doing this governance, or through the instrument of government, governance is established. But today, it is not only the government which is ensuring governance or establishing law and order, but there are also some other institutes like NGOs, self-help groups, civil societies, which are forming a part of your governance. Now, why we have come to governance? We have come to governance by discussing government. Why we have come to government? By discussing the concept of state. Why we have come to the state? Because I was discussing about city states. Why we have come to city states? Because I was discussing what is Western political thought with police. Right? This is how we entered into governance. In the Western political thought, I said political thought means police. Police means city state. What is state? State is an abstract or invisible form that can be manifested through government, or state is the concrete manifestation of government. A government is the instrument of state. Instrument. For what it is the instrument? To perform the duties of state. State performs the duties like governance. That is how we have come. And what Plato said, state can perform governance. It is going to be good governance only through people's participation. Sorry, only through when philosophers rule, as per Plato. As for Aristotle, he said that when people participate, right, people participate in governance, it is called good governance. Who said this? Aristotle said this, Plato said this. Now, then what is governance? Governance is nothing but the crude form of governance, or the crude meaning of governance, is establishing law and order. But today, the concept has evolved. Today, you can say that establishing law and order is one function, ensuring that there is welfare of the people is another form of, or another goal of governance. Right? Welfare is the modern day trend, governance. Now, in this welfare, the concept of governance, earlier it was provided by only government. Today, you have self-help groups, NGOs also. Now, what is the difference between, now let's quickly deal with this. What is the difference between this organ called government and non-government, that is called civil societies? What is the difference between these two? Now, the special attribute to the government is that the special attribute of government is authority. Authority. It has some authority, right? Where authority has come from the so-called, authority is one type of power, and this has come from the so-called legitimacy of people. So people is giving that power, hence it is having authority. When you have authority, you have unlimited power, or your governance is not limited. Is not limited. If the state wants to give any governance, either that is law and order, either that is welfare measures, anything can be given by the state because it has the authority. Authority is one type of power. When I say one type of power, authority, authority is giving legitimacy. How legitimacy has come? Legitimacy has come through the consent of the people, right? Whereas civil service or civil society is a type of social work. Civil society is a type of social work where your powers are limited now. Where your powers are limited. Civil services is or civil work where you will be serving the people, but you have limited amount of power here, right? So whatever the power that we have is not legitimate power, rather it is illegitimate power. Illegitimate power. The power is very limited here, or illegitimate power, right? This is what the thing is. So in general, they might ask this question, right, in interviews, why you want to become a civil servant. Now look at this concept, very interesting topic. They might ask why you are interested to be a civil servant in personality test. When they ask you why you are interested in personality test, people will say, right, why you are interested in civil servants. If you say, sir, I want to do civil service, then the next question will be civil service. So there are many NGOs, many self-help groups which are providing civil services, services. Why can't you go join there? Why are you coming with the so-called UPSC or civil services exam? Go and join some NGOs or self-help groups, right? That is also one option that you have. But why to choose the so-called civil services exam to serve the people? Because the first answer is I want to serve the people, I want to be serving the people, that is my goal, that is my aim, anyone will say. But exactly, the next question of the interviewer will be, you can serve it through NGOs or self-help groups also, why you want to be through government? The reason is self-help groups or NGOs, whatever the power they have, they are limited in their jurisdiction. They have limited power, or that power is illegitimate. Illegitimate means totally it has not consent of the people. But when it is something, civil services exam is something backed up by the government. Government is nothing but the authority. It is one type of power where you have unlimited authority. That is called legitimacy of the people is provided. As a result, your power is legitimate here. So whatever you are going to use here, it is going to be total power. But in the civil services or in the so-called social work, social service, your services are your powers are limited. Hence, I cannot do the service to that extent what a civil servant can do by being in NGOs or self-help groups, right? So that is the reason why I am entering into civil services. That is the answer that you might give. So, but the thing that I wanted to say is, know the difference between the so-called government and NGOs, self-help groups, and civil society. Why I said this? We were discussing about governance. Governance, I said it is a concept of law and order, but this is the old concept of governance. The new concept of governance is changing over a period of time. What is that new concept of governance? New concept of governance is giving the so-called welfare to the people. So when you are giving welfare to the people, right? There are many organizations which give welfare to the people, not only your government, right? But there are also civil societies, NGOs, self-help groups. The difference between both is NGOs or government is unlimited, on the powers of government is unlimited, whereas authority, because it is getting authority or legitimacy of the people. But in civil societies, this legitimacy is not being absorbed. Now let's look at how this has evolved over a period of time, how this structures has evolved over a period of time. We all know this. If you have gone through my ethics book, ethics chapters, I have clearly mentioned there how governance system has evolved over a period of time, right? I said governance is evolving concept, how it is evolving. Let's try to have a look at it. In order to understand how governance has evolved over a period of time, you need to understand how the so-called the society evolved, or human society evolved at first. See, initially humans used to live in silos, right? Which means individuals used to live not in branches. At the starting of the history of human civilization, just like any other animal, individual used to be on his own. There was no concept like I have to live as a group, right? At that point of time, when we were born, when the human civilization has began, individuals used to live in their own territory. Now, when these individuals are living in their own territory, when they come face to face, they are going to fight. And whenever they fight, what it is going to lead? It is going to lead to some concept called They will fight, and only those who are having might in that fight, they are going to survive. So slowly, only those people who are having that power to survive, they could survive. In this fight, those who couldn't survive, they have perished. Right? So flourishment and perishment at the start of the human civilization is depending upon the might of the individuals. So that is called the might concept, right? Those whoever is having that power, they could come. But here the concept has evolved now. Slowly people realized, or slowly human beings realized that why to fight always? Why to fight? Right? Why can't I secure my life? So in order to secure his life or her life, what they did, they started forming, they started coming together, and they started talking to each other, and then they thought that let's not fight with each other, rather than let's go for securing our life. So slowly, people, in order to secure that life, they started forming groups, right? So two persons, one has become two, two has become some 20, 20 has become 200. So slowly groups evolved, right? That is how. First thing is, individual on this human planet, when they were born, they were alone. Individual was alone. Now slowly, in order to, in this alone game, he is always facing the threat of life, threat to his life. Why there is threat to his life? The reason is, when he was born, when there is no society, or there no concept of groups, or no concept of governance, initial stages of human life began with one person, and he used to always have quarrel with other person for the limited type of resources. In this fight, only those who prevailed, the one who is having power, prevailed. Right? Darwin says this as survival of the fittest. Those whoever is fit in this fight, they are going to survive. As a result, the other one is going to perish. He is going to survive. So always, again, if this fellow he comes to before some other fellow who is more powerful, then he passes away and he perishes. Hence, the thing is, there is threat to life, there is no guarantee to life in the beginning. Life is not secured. So then he thought, let me enhance my power. How I can enhance my power? Let me form or group or a family. Let me have few more persons in my troop, so that together we can fight. So the concept of family started building up now. From individual, it has come to family. Slowly, again, these families, they were quarreling with each other, but then they thought, all the families, few families who are having special interests or similar interests, they started coming together, and families coalesced, and it gave rise to the concept of villages. Now, when the villages has come, now they started thinking about, okay, let us elect one fellow who will be securing us, and we will support him. So this is how the concept of the so-called electing a person among the group emerged. So villages, they have formed together, and now why these villages were formed? In order to secure one village from the other village, they were now just the functionality of the family, the functionality of the village is for protection itself, to protect their life, to protect their property. Now slowly, in order to govern themselves, or in order to have some understanding among themselves, they elected among the village, they elected one person. Slowly, this person is known as the king, or the person to frame the orders. This is how the system of king has evolved, right? And slowly, again, villages came together, and villages gave concept to the so-called some big areas or communities. Now, this is in Indian history, you call it as padas. Padas, right? Padas means villages, and padas came together, and they gave rise to Janapadas. Now, a group of Janapadas mixed together over a period of time, and that have given rise to concept of Mahajanapadas. Shodasha Mahajanapadas, you will find that, right? There are 16 Mahajanapadas in Indian history. And after this Shodasha Mahajanapadas, what it has given rise to? It has given rise to the next concept called, again, these Mahajanapadas started coming together, and these people, Mahajanapadas, and these Mahajanapadas started coming together and they formed one thing called empire. And the first empire that you see in the Indian history is the Mauryan Empire, right? Mauryan Empire is an association of 16 Mahajanapadas which were present by that point of time. This is how the concept of a one ruler it has evolved slowly as we move to Janapadas. When it is Pada, one person used to be looking after us. But when we entered into Janapadas, now as the number of people have increased, look at when the king is formed, you have only a village full of people, village people. Now, as we move to the so-called village to Padas to Janapadas, right? The number of villages, it is a group of villages. Now, this is because of this, the king he is not able to look at this entire kingdom, or he is not able to watch the requirements of all the people. As a result, he started electing his own cabinet or his own members to look after the villages. Now again, as we moved from the concept of the so-called Janapadas to Mahajanapadas, which is a combination of a group of Janapadas, again the king, what he did, he has expanded his council because the number of people that he has to govern has to increase now, right? So again, the king's council increased. All these people used to now. Earlier, it is one fellow who used to look after us. Slowly, three persons started looking after us. Slowly, five persons started looking after us because we have slowly started moving from village to a group of villages called Janapadas, a group of Janapadas to Mahajanapadas, and from Mahajanapadas we entered into one more thing called kingdom, right? That is called empire, where which is a combination of many Mahajanapadas. The strength has been increased now. Similarly, the so-called the king's share of the council also increased, or his structure also increased, because now one fellow cannot look after it, so he should have a team to look after the increased empire, and hence he started saying. Now when in the initial days when they were formed, in the initial days when they formed, the function of the king was just limited. It was limited to secure the life of the people. For security of life, these people have come together. Look at this, from here to here, here to here, family, individual has entered into family, family has entered into village.